said you were the best in the parsec.
Welcome to
Parsec Passion. We are performing a podcast about Star Wars TV shows. This time we're talking about The Mandalorian, Season 3, Episode 8, Chapter 24, The Return.
AKA Status Quo?
The Mandalorian and his allies confront their enemies. My name's Bubba, and with me as always through all of Season 3, it's Din Catfish.
That's right, Bubba. I scomped into the podcast again. I am here and I'm ready to discuss the final episode of Season 3.
Wow. Status quo is what you say. Let's see what your rating is out of 10 for The Return.
All right, Bubba. I gave this 8 triple M's out of 10.
Triple M's?
That's right. As we all know, double M stands for Matt Murdock, and quintuple M stands for Matt Murdock's Mandalorian musical analysis. But triple M stands for mutilated mimeographed moths. That is, you get that mimeograph machine and you churn out a bunch of moths, and then they all get destroyed. It's very sad.
Man.
Now,
8 out of 10, that's good.
It's good. Actually, get to the final episode of a season to say, okay, well, I'm going to just, instead of giving a rating for the episode, you want to give a rating for the season because it wraps it up. I would say this episode's really a 10 out of 10. It's amazing. There's so much excitement. There's Moff goes down. We got the Mandalorians back together. Finally, Grogu's doing some action. Plus, he's now he's an apprentice.
Of course.
When near the end of the episode, when the armorer says, "Now I need you to take your apprentice off and go do some adventures," I was like, I wanted Mando to pull out the receipts. You know what I mean? I just wanted him to say, "Din there, din dat."
Oh my goodness gracious.
If Moff is actually dead, I feel like it's funny enough we didn't have enough of him in this season. Sorry, he came in a little bit late. He was the third or maybe fourth main thing that we had to do this season. And I feel like they gave us a taste of the larger world in this season of The Mandalorian. So can they go back to just their little fun weekly thing? Will people be okay with the little fun weekly thing? I was kind of digging that and enjoyed more of that. But they did give us a taste of the larger world now. So I'm torn. I love this episode. This season, we've talked about it a lot about this season, about the way it's changed, and the excitement is, oh great, now this season they've set up that next season's going to be about the Mandalorian and Grogu again.
What a shock.
Which it was originally. So that's kind of where I am. A lot of fun bits. We're going to talk about that, but before we can, first, Bubba, the world is waiting. What was your ranking for this episode of The Mandalorian known as Status Quo? ?
Catfish.
Yes.
There is a shot in this episode that is so beautiful. It is Bo-Katan and Din Djarin fighting Moff Gideon there in the Imperial base as the spaceship is crashing and burning and exploding behind them. I see this shot and I think that is beautiful. And I actually thought a couple of shots in this, I'm like, oh my God, that is beautiful. There are so many moments that are great.
Yeah.
They're also fleeting. And so I'm going to only give this 7 double U's out of 10.
Is that W's or double U's?
Well, a lot of people know that stands for unsatisfying, underwhelming.
Sure, people say that all the time.
Always. Now, Catfish, what's so great is you described it perfectly. As an episode, this is really, really good. So many things happen that are positive, fun action, fun Grogu, so many things that are good. However, season 1, do you know how that ended? It ended with our heroes defeating Moff Gideon and getting away. Season 2, you know how that ended? It ended with our heroes defeating Moff Gideon and capturing him and turning him over. You want to guess how season 3 ends? It's our heroes defeating Moff Gideon. I mean, you said if Moff is actual dead, well, maybe he's got other clones of himself somewhere else, because this guy is unkillable. There's another U for you, a triple U. And it takes away some of the satisfaction. Think about in season 1, it was really great to defeat Moff Gideon because he had taken Grogu. He tried to kill our heroes. Right. His forces had killed Kuil, the Ugnulti. In season 2, it was great to defeat Moff Gideon. He had taken Grogu again. It was just wonderful. In season 3, it was great to defeat him because we accidentally stumbled into his base and then he tried to kill us because we stumbled in. He actually hadn't done anything especially terrible to our heroes. I guess he sent a pirate attack on them, but we didn't feel that anger towards him. There's another thing. Mm-hmm. The best part of Luke Skywalker's Death Star trench run in the original Star Wars, as it was known Star Wars and now A New Hope. The best thing about it?
Tell me.
It was really difficult. Like when we really want Luke to blow up the Death Star and defeat the enemies and all this great stuff. But we saw it was really difficult because like everybody else tried and died. Everybody else tried. Let me try to shoot at this, shaft and hit it. Oh, I couldn't. Right. And so that set up, this is really difficult. Oh my goodness, he's got to do it. Like there were incredible stakes. Those stakes, what we didn't see in people destroying all Moff Gideon's clones? Anybody trying? Like nobody tried and failed. Nobody this is impossible to destroy these clones. It's impossible to destroy these clones. I can flip a switch. Okay, they're destroyed. The end. And so once again, I'm tough on this episode, but how about this? A whole season where Mando never took off his helmet. You are king of helmet off, and yet I'm the one getting upset about it. So I once again, let's go back. That beautiful shot of the ship crashing. So many great fights. Grogu totally making punks of the Preatorian Guards. Wonderful moments.
Not just making punks of them, but sometimes making punks of them, and sometimes letting Din fight 2 of them without helping at all.
You get tired. I mean, laughing at them as he was running away from them, like he, giggle, giggle, giggle. So many great things. I'm going to focus on those, but I'm also going to focus on how this season, it was okay. It's certainly getting back to season 1, and so we'll talk about that. But Catfish, what do we tell our listeners about our opinions?
Our opinions don't matter, and in fact, we love to hear people scoffing at our opinions, making fun of us. Treat us the way Grogu treated those enemies. Just laugh and mock us the whole way. And there are several ways you can do that. First, you can go to facebook.com/double and then the letters PHQ. It's very simple. There's not a very long thing. Some people have said to me, it's a very long way to get there. I tell them, no, that's not true. Not everybody knows this. Yeah. You can also, on Twitter or Instagram, our handle is double PHQ. It's very simple. Also, right now, if you're watching on video, there's a place right below where I am. And as people say, smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, write notes down below there. We'll read them. Somebody totally dissed me last week, and I was like, whoa. But I took it, and it was a loyal listener, too. They got me right in the gut.
Oh, no. Hey, now, we want your opinion, so give that feedback just like Catfish told you to. Also, folks, this is it. This podcast feed is always active when these Disney Star Wars shows are active. So you'll hear us again in August of 2023 for Ahsoka. This will be a real fun podcast if you like people who aren't real familiar with the animated show characters who are going to be a big part of Ahsoka. I think Catfish and I will have the almost newbie take on that series. So you'll hear us on that show on August of 2023. December of 2023, as you're buying those Christmas presents, make sure you're subscribed to us so you can hear us talk about Skeleton Crew. That's a new show for everybody.
We get, of course,
we'll also have Vane the Pirate. And then in spring of 2024, The Acolyte. You want to see a show centered around the Sith, the bad guys. This will be exciting. Andor Season 2, August of 2024. Mando Season 4, December of 2024. Subscribe. We want you on this journey with us, telling us how our opinions are wrong and don't matter.
Love it. Love it. Bubba.
Yeah.
Let's get right into this episode. Let's do it. So how does this start off? I forgot already.
Well, it jumps in. It's, if you loved the last week's episode, and we were really high on last week's episode as well. We were also really high, but no, we were really high on the episode.
The statue got us high.
Right. Hello. Spoiler alerts. And so it just jumps right in. Remember Axe, Woves, one of the helmet off crew, he put on his helmet and he's flying up into the upper atmosphere where the air is a little thin. He's got to fly up to the ships and warn them, hey, bombers are coming, get the F out of D. Meanwhile, our heroes with Bo-Katan are being backed up they're being backed up and being chased down the alleyway. They're trying to escape while they're being attacked by these commandos wearing their kind of advanced Beskar armor. And it's a real funny to watch a fight where a lot of people shoot at each other. And, a lot of times in Star Wars, you shoot at each other and, this person gets hit and they fall. This person gets hit and this fall. For a while here, it was like people hitting each other and nobody falling, like, hey, Beskar, no big deal.
Right. It turns out, as we find out later, when these guys built their Beskar armor, they forgot to account for flying projectiles, left some gaps in the armor. Speaking of the run in the original Star Wars on the Death Star.
Yeah, right. A 2-meter shaft in the middle of their Beskar armor. Okay, so anyway, then we got to catch up with Din. He ended up last episode, he was being taken prisoner. Why was he being taken prisoner instead of killed? Reasons. And so,
why was he taken away by only 2 dudes? Reasons.
Right, I got to save the rest to kill all these other people.
Mando to 2 dudes. This should be easy, but as you said, Bubba, it is not.
It isn't. And I'm so tough, only 7 out of 10. But if I'm just judging some of the action in this episode, 10 out of 10. This fight is bloody, it's brutal, it's difficult. Remember how I was like, oh boy, it's really easy to get rid of Moff Gideon's clones. Just find find the Windows trash can and put the clones in that. Real simple. But here, it's a difficult fight, and that's what we love. And it's a fight where Din, in the end, looks like he's going to lose, and then somebody shows up, Cap. Well, Din is on fire. He's cooked,
Mando
in his armor.
Catching on fire, fingertips.
All right, the concert is over, Cap.
All right, and then Grogu saves him, and then he says something adorable to Grogu. He says, I'm going to need you to be brave, because we got to go get Moff Gideon. He says, look, it's the last episode of the season. You know what that means. Yeah. We got to get Moff Gideon.
Do you ever have a feeling in your life, Catfish, where okay, I got to do this. This is the last episode of the season. We got to get this done.
Bubba, real life never seems to have any stops in it.
I know. Sadly, it's unfortunate. Sadly. How about Din saying to Grogu, I'm going to need you to be brave. Grogu needed a no crap button, but Grogu needs a button that says, you think? Yes, I get it. We're in trouble here. Now, Bo-Katan's crew, we're bouncing all over the place. And in some ways, this is great, like I said, because it is moving. The action is wonderful. At other times, this is where I was like, oh, this is so beautiful. It'd be nice to spend a beat here on some of this stuff. But no, we've got to go because it's really hitting the fan right now. The TIE fighters and TIE bombers are taking off to blow up all the spaceships. And Moff Gideon, he's seeing this all goes down, and he's like, oh, wait a minute. On my little digital map, on my Google map of my base, I can see that Din and Grogu are there, and they've escaped, and they're causing trouble.
And somehow nicely, they each have their own color dots.
Of course.
I guess Grogu is the green one, right?
If they did it, he's going to go down to IT and say, who did this? Who gave Mando the green
Fellas,
color?
I gave you the color coding before we started. At the meeting, remember I said up top?
Right.
Grogu
I'm going to make some
green.
clones to replace you, IT. One time. Now, Gideon tells his men a staple of all sorts of fighting. He's like, no, I will take him alone. And just once, I'd love a villain after they say, no, troops, you stay here. I will take him alone. I'd love that villain to take one step and then go, wait a minute. On second thought, why in the world am I fighting one-on-one with this person? All my plans are dependent on this guy dying. Everybody with me, let's all kill him.
Right. What if just one time, Bubba, you need to throw this into a movie. You got a bad guy and he's got a bunch of guys around. And he says, I'm going to take him one-on-one. No, you guys handle him. I'll leave. No, wait, both of those plans are stupid. Right. I'll stay, you stay, we'll all take him down. That way, we'll all be sure he's dead.
Hold on. Now, look, I've got a PowerPoint on this. You ready? Okay. This is a picture of him, one dude. This is all of our IDs. This is the social hierarchy here of the of the henchmen. All right? So we're all going to get him. Let's all kill him. Now, of course, he, for whatever reason, said he wanted to take out Mando himself. That gives Mando time to get his own, digital copy of the base. And who does he reach out to? The spy, who was probably one of the plural spies last week. It's the droid R5D4.
Holy cow, he wants coordinates of the base. And once again, Bubba, the captions on this show rule. Oh, yeah. It's R5D4. He's beeping, and the caption says, beeping hesitantly.
He's not the only one. Hell yeah, of course, beep hesitantly. Heck yeah. In RD5, this goes to, prequel fans will either love this or hate that they did it again. In the middle of the prequels, Lucas has designed an action scene where he's like, oh, wait a minute, R2-D2, who just rolls along, there's no way he can save the day like I need him to. Yeah, let's just say R2-D2 has a jet thruster so he can fly around where he needs to go. And so here R5 has some as well, and he just flies conveniently down to the base.
It's so good.
Plugs into a socket. He's getting those schematics. He sends them to Din. And let's stay with R5 here for a minute, Catfish, because if there's good droids, you know what that means. There's also bad droids. And these mouse droids, they want to turn him in.
But just so you know, of all the big bads this season, this is the big bad that Ms. Catfish would be the most scared of. The mouse droids.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, just
scurrying
coming up
around
to
on
feet.
The ground.
Right.
Who knows? They might crawl across your feet. They might nibble on your toes. Horrible. Something scurrying around so low.
I mean, spoiler alert for our Grogorable moments. This might be mine. This was really perfect, these mouse droids. One comes up and turns the alarm on him. R5 shocks him, and then he's like, oh, you can get one of us, but not all of us mouse droids. Justice for mouse droids. I love it. Axe Woves, once again, we're jumping around so much. Up at the cruisers, Axe Woves arrives, and he's like, all right, everybody, we got to get out of here. Why do we have to get out of here? Well, the Empire is sending TIE fighters and bombers to destroy us. But aren't we in a fighter? Can't we destroy them? No arguments. Everybody out but me.
Well, first of all, Bubba, the guy getting the news about the impending attack, his reaction is a complete reversal from Grief Karga's reaction. He's like, everyone's coming. They're going to demolish us all. He's like, yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, makes sense. And then, Bubba,
should I go or go?
It's like,
okay, I should go.
It's chill, very chill. Does that mean am I going to miss lunch? I've got lunch? And then, Bubba, I'm thinking he sends everybody away. Like, everybody get out. And I thought, oh my goodness, is Axe the spy? He gets everyone to look at him. And they try to get you to think that because they have the super chill dude finally has some sort of reaction, and he looks sort of suspiciously at Axe. And then internally he's like, I guess that's cool. And he's out.
Well, it is very suspicious. Why not stay here in this giant freighter and destroy these little TIE fighters coming to get us? Oh, well, okay, sure.
I don't know, Bubba. What I want to know is, do all Mandalorians have the same amount of juice in their pack, or are some of them more advanced?
Oh,
because if you can't go across the planet, there's no way you can zoom all the way down from outer space down to a planet, unless you turn off the juice and you just do a little free falling.
Well, they were going from the fighter to their little drop ships, and then from their drop ships to the fight. But no, the inconsistency of how much juice are in these jetpacks is a wonderful point that I'm sure we'll have a comic book about sooner or later.
I love it.
No, Axe, once again, everybody, Axe saw. No, I guess he didn't, because he took off earlier. I was going to say maybe Axe wants his own Paz Vizsla moment where I'm going to go down fighting. but he doesn't really go down fighting. He just fights for a little bit and then gets the heck out. But you put an important point. Axe has always been a member of the Helmet Off crew, but if he's gonna be shot, okay, in this instant I'll go helmet on. Okay.
Well, I realize he put his helmet on because he's like, I am now officially the captain of this ship, which means I will abandon it as soon as it looks dire. So he needed his helmet on so he could bug out of the ship.
I will go down with the ship, but not all the way. I'll go a little bit down. I will go the correct amount down with the ship. So this is fun. All right. So now Mando, even though he is being tracked by Moff Gideon on where he is in the base, Moff Gideon doesn't seem to have a problem with him when he suddenly shows up at the Get Smart laser doors, right? He shows up at the Get Smart laser door. He's like, R5, save me. So, or no, he's telling R5, and this is a smart plan, like open the doors when I tell you, don't allow them to open when I don't tell you. So this is pretty smart. But each time he opens a door, he's got to fight his way through another group of these Beskar commandos. This is crazy, and also wonderful action. We love it.
Well, I gotta wonder two things, Bubba. One,
yeah,
were the guys, behind the shields, like, were they excited to get to him? Were they afraid because they saw everybody kicking each other's ass? Mm-hmm. Were they looking for weaknesses? That was my first question. My other question is, one of these dudes gets thrown off the walkway, a very deep way. And Bubba, I got to ask you something.
Sure.
In this Star Wars world,
okay,
do they have any walkways with guardrails?
They actually do. They do a couple in the Empire Strikes Back. Luke and Vader fight on a walkway very high up with rails.
Sure. I don't believe. I believe the whatever OSHA comp there is in this world is not doing their job.
Well, let me say, the one thing you say about these Mandos are they excited to see? Sorry, these Commandos, are they excited to see Mando coming through and fighting through the shields and starting fights? I kind of think, I'm not the most brave man, but if you told me I was spending days and days inside this kind of secret panel, just waiting for something to do, okay, if for whatever reason the laser wall comes down and it's not somebody we approve of, fight them and make sure they don't get through the next 3 laser doors. Like, that's got to be the most boring job you ever had. So I would think at a certain point, I'd be like, oh, thank God. Okay, you mean I've been standing here for friggin' years, and finally somebody's tried to break through this damn door. Let's go.
Got it.
Let's go. I that's how I would feel. I know not everybody is as brave as I am, but that's the way I think. But Mando, once again, great action. We're having fun. But guys, this is what we came for. This is what we pay for Disney Plus for. Let's see it. Mando's getting through. And he and Grogu, I should say, get into the room of clones. And this has been something they've been hitting about really since the very first episode. Why does Dr. Pershing, why does Moff Gideon, what are they doing with clones? What do they want with Grogu? Oh, snap. They're not just any clones. These are Gideon clones. Whoa.
Oh my God, at that moment, Matt Murdock must have been so upset.
And then this is a classic catfish. People who really know you love horror films. And is this not the classic horror film trope? Let's get a close-up look on this clone. It's sleeping. There's no big deal. Its eyes are closed. It's fine. It's in this tube of fluid. I wonder if, boink, those eyes open and you're like, oh, snap,
holy
trouble.
Cow.
And the clones start waking up. Oh my God, you have developed a villain who you never told us what his plan was. Like I said, we've been wondering, really, what does he want with Grogu? And we find out, oh my goodness, he's creating an army of clones of himself and giving them the powers of the Force. This is incredible. This is something, how do his other Imperial remnants feel about it? How do other people feel about it? How do the clones feel about it? How do our heroes take on a army of Gideon clones? This is incredible. I can't wait to see how they explore this.
I'm surprised that he would think there's any way that he could be more perfect. Frankly, because he has a very high opinion of himself.
He does. And he didn't say, okay, let's give him some Just for Men right above the ears where they're going on. These are identical clones, man. And once again, you could really explore this and be exciting. Or Let's just flip this switch and destroy all the clone techs.
They gone. Water goes everywhere. It's a mess. It is
Come
a
on.
mess of mangled and mutilated mimeographed moths.
What's that terrible smell? Oh, it's
something
25
smells.
moth.
Something smells moth.
Now let's jump back. So once again, this show is always about jumping here, jumping there.
Run, jump.
The Mandos who somehow survived the Night of 1,000 Tears on the planet's surface. Well, they found little places on the planet. We thought, as I always love to say, Boba Fett described the planet in season 2 of The Mandalorian, that planet's glass. Well, there are these little caves, these little caverns where life can grow. Life finds a way. This is Jurassic Park. Where's Ian Malcolm to tell us?
Now, what is amazing is the helmet on Mandalorians at some point in the future have to go. God, we lived on such a crap hole. We could have had this. Look at this greenery.
This is even better than the lava flats.
All the lava flats.
Oh, man.
Coming soon.
Right.
Nothing.
But oh wait, suddenly the armor announces, okay, the reinforcements have shown up. And so everybody down in this beautiful plant life of cave, it's like, it is go time. We've got to fly. Bo-Katan and the Mandos on the ground, they use their jetpacks to jump up. The drop ships from above drops all these Mandos. And this is a full army of Mandos with their jetpacks. Bo-Katan and the armor are leading them. Bo-Katan lights up the Dark Saber, and that looks pretty good when you're flying at the front of a pack of warriors holding the Dark Saber. That is incredible. And almost incredible is the armor just saying, hammer and tongs, Dark Saber, woo, hammer and tongs. That also works. This jetpack battle, as they're flying into the Imperial base, and the evil Beskar commandos are flying up, it was brilliant. It was wonderful. In my opinion, it was too short. I wanted to see it go on longer. I keep teasing some of the story points about this season and this episode, but the individual moments are really good. Perfect. Oh yeah,
this, like you said, there were so many amazing things that happened in here, and it felt like they were like, wow, this episode's too expensive already, so we have to make all these things shorter. They were just magnificent and so good.
We finally, Mando said it, so the audience didn't have any questions. He's like, listen, we keep having trouble with this Moff Gideon guy. We gotta take him out so we can finally be happy and get back to the way the show was.
Right.
Adventure of the week. And so they make their way to the command center, and this is it, Catfish. We are on. It is time to have a confrontation. And once again, a confrontation where the villain's got to monologue a bit so we can explain what his plan's been this whole time. And he says, yeah, that thing you saw in the other room, I talked about taking the best of the Jedi, the best of the Mandalorians, the best of the Empire, and the best of me. My clones were finally going to be perfect, the best parts of me, but improved by adding the one thing I never had.
Humility?
The Force.
No, the Force.
I was isolating the potential to wield the Force and incorporating it into an unstoppable army, and you smothered them before they could even draw their first breath. Yeah. Maybe maybe protect your army even better when they're still not breathing. How about anything better? How about freaking tanks?
Are you suggesting that maybe they had like 3 or 4 mouse droids in that room?
Yeah, right. Or how about, okay, you're following where Grogu and Mando are on a little map of the base. They're in the room with your clones. Why not immediately just go in and attack them rather than just let them be in the clone room for a bit before you do anything, Moff? You kind of got what you deserved. But we get what we deserve, a knockdown, drag-out brawl between Gideon and Mando, Moff Gideon and Mando. And they fought at the end of season 2. This isn't the first time they've gone mano a mano, but I think this fight was better than their fight in season 2. This was good. And Gideon, who was like, I'll take him myself, he's suddenly like, or I'll have the Preatorian Guards show up too. I mean, come on, let's go.
I love it. And Bubba, I noticed this with them and also with Bo-Katan with a fuchsia swords. What are we at Burning Man here? It's like they're red with the fuchsia. There's a lot of color going on here.
Listen to me. I ran out of paint. I literally made all these Beskar troopers, commandos. They're black and white. It's kind of monochromatic. It's like every car you see out on the road now. I want a car that has some color like these Preatorian Guards. Wait, your weapons don't have color? Guys, come here. Let's color those up. Let's have some Burning Man fun here. And they are kicking Din's ass. These Preatorian Guards are great fighters. But there's one person who this show has proven you can't beat. The one fighter who never really goes down for long. It's IG-12. Whoops, I mean, it's Grogu. Grogu is punking them. I already said it. Wonderful to see our boy, who sometimes just hangs out with Lizzo for an episode, but I think it's more fun when he kicks your tail. Oh, so good.
Holy cow. Either way, he is cheating because he has the Force and you do not. And then, Bubba, what we've been waiting for, apparently, because we're like, is this Din's show or is this Bo's show? It feels like it's Bo's show. So if it's Bo's show, then she has to defeat Moff by herself. But what happens?
She kind of loses to Moff. Now, Catfish, you're bringing up a big point. This season, and you've talked about it so much, this season is all really, at a certain point, switched to become, we've got to get our people to retake Mandalore. But it's a real odd thing in that Mando has never shown a big desire to retake Mandalore. He wants to be part of his tribe, and he could have had moments where he said, my tribe is living in this deadly cave, and now living in these, this non-hospitable lava flats. It could have been a big driving force for him. Like, hey, I want to prove to my covert that I'm great. Let's retake Mandalore. But he never once said it. Bo-Katan at the beginning of the season, she's like, go to Mandalore, fine. I'm just going to pout here in my castle. She didn't get a big drive to go retake Mandalore until much later. And so, some people are barking that I'm negative, but I'm saying nobody was really excited to retake Mandalore except kind of the armor. But now this is it. In a big thing in this show has been that Dark Saber. We have spent so much time focused on who should have the Dark Saber, why it's important, who's going to win the Iron Throne. And then at the end, the Iron Throne is just, spoilers, the Dark Saber is destroyed. After all this buildup,
Bubba,
it's just destroyed.
This is the Dark Saber.
Yeah.
I mean, what you want to talk about things happening fast? Like, how does the Dark Saber just destroyed? I mean, they made it sound like this was an unkillable, undestroyable object.
When you say something's unkillable and undestroyable, you know what that means.
W. You're not going to be able to refund that when you go take it to the store. Well, what happened to this Dark Saber? It looks like somebody put it in a clamp and bent it in half. Yeah, sorry about that. Now, let me say, once again, let's focus on the beautiful. Woves decides, hey, this ship's been blown up by all these troopers. I know a great idea. I'll use this Imperial cruiser to destroy Moff Gideon's base. It's crashing in. I mean, Holy cow, Bubba.
This is huge.
Coming in hot.
Yes.
Literally hot. He is on fire.
This is it, man. This is the big thing. And Moff Gideon, who you said it earlier, he's never been on this show enough. They shouldn't have kept his plan so secret. He's kicking everybody's butt, so why not talk a little smack too? Mandalorians are weak once they've lost their trinkets. Hell yeah, drop the mic, Gideon. Heck yeah. Bo-Katan, I guess, says, we're stronger when we're together, even when it's us helmet off normal people and these weirdos who have their helmet on all the time.
It would have been great if there was a pause, and then she was like, we're stronger when we work together.
Or if she
because really Mando was missing his cue.
Right.
Together.
I thought you were trying to, she was like, well, the Dark Saber's destroyed. I guess we can't have a ruler unless Mandalorians are stronger together. Hello, look.
Oh man. I don't know. Yeah, that's a great question. Is she going to rule with the stub?
No, it's a democracy now. There's no ruler.
I hold the dark stub. You must follow me.
Now, like I said, this is a beautiful shot. Even it's real short.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's blown up. This version of Moff Gideon gets blown up real good, and they can't be saved. Our heroes are in the middle of a giant explosion. They're dead. But Grogu, back in season 1, what did he do at the end of that? He prevented a little fireball. Well, that was a little fireball. This is season 3 level of fire, and Grogu does it. He creates a force field and uses the force to move the flames away from him, his mother, and his father. Whoops. I mean, I guess just his father.
Well,
are you happy, Catfish?
Awesome.
Moff Gideon's gone. Possibly. What are your thoughts? What did you think? It was great action. I'm teasing it. But
yeah, no. I mean, if he was helmet on, he could have survived.
I think he was helmet off when the explosion hit.
He put his helmet on real quick. He believes in. This is the only time I believe in helmet on.
Oh my goodness gracious! If he survived again, they should just join him. You know, like you can't beat him, join him. I mean, this is ridiculous. But we got to go somewhere first.
Yep. Where?
Down to the living waters.
Love it.
And guess what? Ragnar's finally going to have a pledge ceremony where nobody gets eaten.
Well, Bubba, you know,
but he's not going to have a father.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That, Ragnar.
No, this is an advantage. You know what I mean? They're all about the foundlings, and he's a real foundling now.
Right.
You come to us without any real parents.
But
everyone you know is dead.
But in this ceremony, unlike the one where at the beginning of the season where people got eaten as he was doing his pledge, the armor didn't say the line about "I will always wear my helmet, always, always, always."
Ooh.
So will we see Ragnar's lovely, luscious hair again?
Wow, that is interesting. So you think she's giving that up? I thought they were going to be together, but not.
Yeah, I wonder. I just know that they didn't say it. Maybe she's giving him the choice. You know, like, hey, you're going to follow the creed, but the creed on helmet status is your own personal choice, your own personal vow.
You know, Bubba, there's something coming up very, very soon here that shows the real limits of helmet on. So would you like to say what happens next?
Well, it's time for another person to have their ceremony. Another person there at the Living Waters needs to take the creed. But guess what? They can't speak, so they don't get to do the creed. Did you want Grogu to take the creed, Catfish, when it looked like he was going to make the pledge? What did you think?
Well, I figured they're a stickler for rules and that they wouldn't let him take the creed. In fact, I was confused by what actually happened because I guess this is a secondary option that I was not made aware of, that you don't have to take the creed, but you can become an apprentice until you can take the creed. I'm not too aware of it. What I am aware of, Bubba, is that after Grogu got adopted, Din says, I formally take him as my son. They do a nice panning across the crowd to get the reaction shots. The camera sweeps across all the Mandalorians so we can see the pride on their face. No, wait a second. You can't see a dang thing because they're all wearing their helmets. So they pan across the crowd, and what is it? No reactions. We don't get to see any pride.
There are little nods. There's visors.
Wow,
there's foreheads put forward.
Did you see a visor misting up? Did you see that? I did see that.
I did. It was beautiful.
Okay, well there we go.
I will never forget.
I will. I mean, I know what they're trying to do, but it is blatantly ridiculous when you would normally go to a reaction shot of somebody so the audience can feel something. And it goes to a mask. We can intuit what they're doing, but it just looks ridiculous.
The score, I think the score was okay. You know, it was it was swelling. The score swells to let you know this is an emotional moment. The Mandos do kind of nod or do a very minimal head bow.
It was really beautiful. Really, really touched me.
Well, at my funeral, I don't want anybody to, have to show ugly cries, so I'll let everybody just bow their head. And so, everybody
ugly cries, cheers. I want it to be stone-faced at mine, just to be safe.
Whatever
I want it to be stone-faced.
But Catfish, how about this?
Mm-hmm.
Once you become an apprentice, we spent a whole season retaking our planet. So the most important thing to do now that you are a apprentice foundling, an apprentice Mandalorian, is leave Mandalore and go have fun adventures. Wait, what? Why didn't Ragnar say, do I get to leave this crap hole too?
Well, I mean, again, if apprentice is before you actually can accept the creed, presumably Ragnar has already gone. I mean, Ragnar's gone on adventures. He went and visited a nest. He got carried off in a beak. I mean, that's some adventuring right there.
Oh, that's terrible.
That was some apprentice adventuring.
Now, what did you think? What did you think of Grogu's new name? I guess Din Grogu, Mandalorian apprentice.
Now, here's my question, Bubba. I wasn't going to ask it because I ask a lot of stupid questions, so I try not to. Does that mean that Din Djarin's? There are two possibilities. One is that Din is an honorific, like Mr. or whatever, or that they say their names in reverse the way a lot of people around the world do. Which is it?
Well, I guess maybe Din could, but like Paz Vizsla was from House Vizsla, which is very similar to Game of Thrones, how that works. So Vizsla is the name that carries on. It's like a last name, the house name. Similarly, Bo-Katan Kryze, and they'd already mentioned on the show House Kryze. It's the last name that kind of goes on. And
so why did they call him Grogu Djarin instead of Din Grogu if he's been formally adopted?
Nobody has any idea. There is a chance that maybe the planet that Din originally came from, that's the formality, and so you stick with that because you're a foundling. Nobody has any idea. There's nothing. Okay. There's nothing in Star Wars lore which explains why he would be Din Grogu. My thought was maybe the armorer thinks Grogu is Grogu's last name, and so it's like maybe she's like, oh well, I don't want to change his last name. He'll be Din Grogu. I got no idea. It's a wonderful question.
All right.
Now,
well,
Grogu,
there we go.
Though, we set up that the mythosaur is down there. Remember, the armorer believes that, the mythosaur is going to rise and it'll show the dawn of a new Mandalore.
There were some podcasters that theorized that Bo-Katan would use the mythosaur.
Oh, yeah, I did.
To defeat the... I didn't know that was you.
Well, a lot of people did, but I did too. But instead, the mythosaur is awake but sleeping. Maybe that's the mythosaur needs to represent the planet. The planet is now awake, but it's not, out there thriving yet. And so maybe that's kind of a symbolism. But one thing is thriving. They have turned on the Great Forge. Let's slap our forearms together for Mandalore. Clap, clap for him.
Finally, now they don't have to recycle old Beskar. They got the forge working here where the Beskar is.
Hell yeah. Do you think somebody went, hey, we've got this toasted Gideon armor. Anybody want that? It looks real sweet. That's what I would have said if I was Grogu. I'd be like, give me that sweet armor. So this season's over. We got to set up next season. That's what all these type of shows do. So the next thing we know is we see Din and Grogu flying to the New Republic base. And this is like, wait a minute, huh? Is he gonna join the Republic? Mando does say, I have a business proposition. And his proposition is, I want to do work off the books and not get taxed and not get health insurance for my Grogu. He's like, you don't have the resources to protect the Outer Rim, let alone Imperial remnants, and I need work.
Right.
On a case-by-case basis, independent contractor.
And then there's again, sometimes nitpick too much.
Yeah.
And this is one of those times. The guy says, this will never get approved. And Mando says, which is why you won't tell them about it. but he expects to get paid. So does he think this dude's got some big slush fund that he can access without having to explain what it's for? He doesn't exactly look like he's the head of a spy organization and that he's got all this off the books money.
Well, Catfish, hold on. This is one thing that's very true to those 80s TV shows that Jon Favreau may have grown up watching. You know, like the A-Team were always out there fighting for justice.
Right.
But they weren't cops. Knight Rider would have adventures of the week going here, going there. But he wasn't a cop. They were independent contractors. And so therefore, Carson Teva's going to be Devin in Knight Rider. And
same with BJ and the Bear.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody. Catfish really, really going deep on Hardcastle and McCormick. Let's see how deep we can go on these shows. Grizzly Adams didn't really go a lot of places. He may have been independent Grizzly. Case by case. Grizzly was like, I'm not going to take this case.
Do you mind if I show you?
I was talking about people who would do like fight criminals but weren't cops, and you're like Grizzly Adams. What are you talking? McHale's Navy. Wait, what? What is going on here?
Gilligan's Island.
Right, but maybe he's getting paid. Hold on, back on time. Stay on target.
Okay.
Maybe he's getting paid in parts, and he's like, my first down payment, I'll take the IG head.
Oh, perfect.
Cut to Navarro. I love this. Grief is like, man, Mando, you've been so wonderful. I've got you a great place. Just got freed up. I've been trying to unload this property for months. It's the Lava Flats. How'd you like to? Dear God, I thought I'd gotten rid of it to these Mandos, but they all just up and left. We're going to sell this damn property again.
He's like, there's a lot of spec plans, but nothing built yet.
But hey, all season long, Grief has been giving stuff to Mando. Mando gives something to Grief and Navarro. It's a new Marshal, IG-11. And the whole town claps when they see IG-11 as the new Marshal. They love it. We love IG-11. He's back to being IG-11, not IG-12. It's good. And the season ends with a beautiful shot of the dad sitting on the front porch while the kid is in the front yard playing with frogs, just like he did at Luke's Jedi Temple. What do you think, Catfish? What do you think Grogu's doing to that frog?
Is he playing with the frog, or is he torturing them? I just want to say there is a phrase called playing cat and mouse. And if anybody, one time when I was 10 or 11, I actually saw a cat play with a mouse, and it was horrific. They let it get like a foot away. They pounce on it. They play with a little bit. They let it go. I mean, it's just torturous. And I feel like that is what Grogu is doing with the frog. He's trying to use the Force to squeeze an egg out so he can eat that delicious egg.
Oh, no. Oh, no. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many frogs.
Okay, so here we are.
Yeah, it seems like they're setting up season 4, which they're going to film in October of 2023 and should be on your Disney Plus subscription in December of 2024, or a little under 2 months away. It seems like it's going to go back to the infamous Case of the Week format, Catfish. What do you think about that? That we certainly were very high on season 1, which is very Case of the Week. Season 2, I want to point out, even though it had that overriding return Grogu to his people, the Jedi, because it was always that tit for tat, Mando always ended up having to do a bargain for somebody. Season 2 also had that kind of Case of the Week feel. Are you excited to be seemingly get back to that format of Mando?
Yeah, there we are. Now, it is like we're back on season 1, but think of all we've learned along the way, Bubba. Speaking of those 80s shows, think of those 70s after school specials. What we learned along the way was the most important. I mean, I said it earlier. I wonder if, how much will be just their new adventures together, which is what we've always wanted. And
of course,
how much they'll want to tie in other things. I mean, it feels like the Bo-Katan and the Mandalorian story certainly isn't over. We got the mythosaur hanging over our head or swimming beneath our feet. And there's no Bo-Katan series that's coming out.
I think one thing you would say is through 3 seasons, and admittedly, the Book of Boba Fett, Mando, who was very much introduced as a lone gunman out on the prairie, who suddenly it was lone wolf and cub, and it's just the two of them. Over 3 seasons, Mando has so many allies. I mean, let's be honest. He's got Greef Karga. He's got IG-11 on Navarro. In the whole Outer Rim, he's got Carson Teva and the X-Wings pilots. Over on Tatooine, he's got an ally in Boba Fett, in Fennec Shand, in the Timothy Oliphant character, Cobb Vanth. Here on Mandalore, he's got an ally in Bo-Katan. He's got an ally in the armor and all those people. So he's a lone guy, but he's got allies everywhere if he suddenly does need to fight a big villain or need any support. He's not really a lone gunman anymore. He's got his crew that he can call up if he needs them.
Absolutely. But his most important crew member is Grogu.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Which is a great segue.
Yeah, it
to
is.
Our next bit.
Our Gregorable moments, the cute, adorable moments of
holy cow.
Tween Yoda. Grogu, we've said it every episode, even when we've been tough on an episode, Grogu, gold. He is absolute gold.
We have been toughest on the episodes that did not have enough Grogu gold, as we call it, double G. So, but once again, almost every moment here.
Almost.
I mean, cooing when he was asked to be brave.
Yep. Not
freaking out, but squeaking out when the mangled Moff mimeograph awakes.
Yeah. Oh, so
yelping
good.
When Moff attacks him,
yep.
Running away from the guards, skipping and laughing, yep. And then just sad that he can't join the cult, and then
playing with the frog. Oh,
well, but before that, the happiness when he sees he's going to be adopted, he's going to have a real dad.
So
you get a real dad. When they have take your father to work day, he won't have to skips that day of school because he doesn't have a father.
Right. My dad is a independent contractor. What? It's okay. What does your dad do? My dad was a pirate. Parts of him are scattered all over the lava flats. Okay, next kid here at school. Next kid. My adorable moment, Catfish, I'm going off the board. All those mouse droids around R5, just because it was a moment of levity that didn't come from Grogu in an episode packed with wonderful action. So I'm going with the mouse droids surrounding R5. That's mine.
All right, I love it. I'm gonna have him skipping around above the guards, just mocking and laughing at them. All right, then we have our Mandalicious line of the episode. We usually separate them into funny and badass. Yep. I have to say, again, this episode could have been much longer. But also, there was so much going on. There really weren't that many lines. I have one funny line.
Let's hear it.
When Mando says, I don't have any weapons, so this might get messy.
Very honest.
I have the badass Bo-Katan saying, I've got this. Go save your kid.
Hell yeah.
And then I've got Moff, who says, hand over the Dark Saber, and I will give you a warrior's death.
Yeah.
For which I wanted Bo to say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And then, usually it's just funny and badass, but we have sweet.
What?
When Mando says, I'm going to need you to be brave. Bucking up his little boy, Grogu. So do you have you want to pick one of those? You want to go off the board, Bubba?
I am going off the board.
Always.
I love it. Moff Gideon, gone too soon. Possibly. He talks smack. He was only in 2 episodes this season, but we saw his face. We didn't see yours, Mando. So I'm going to give it to Moff Gideon for smack talking. Mandalorians are weak once they've lost their trinkets. Hell to the yeah.
Bam. I love it. I love it. I'm going to go with, I'm going to need you to be brave. It was so cute.
Oh, that was good. Hey, Catfish.
Yeah.
Now, let's go to our grief beef, something that was annoying about the episode, and our good grief, something that we loved about the episode. So what was your grief beef for episode 8 of season 3?
All right. Well, I'm not going to go my beef about the season again, but I'm going to pick up on yours. I'm going to steal your business.
Let's hear it.
I'm just going to say my beef was we had so much happened in this episode. It should have been the longest episode of the season.
Yes.
And in fact, I think it was the shortest episode of the season. So
it went by real quick. Yeah.
My beef is give us more of this. We want more. This is the bag. You know, it's funny because for all the Marvel shows, I'm always upset because even the TV shows, the last episode is just CGI crap that doesn't mean anything. Even when the shows are really good and interesting and different, they always seem to do that. But just give us more of this here. This was fabulous, and I just wanted more. That's my beef. What about you, Bubba?
My grief beef is something that I don't mind, but there is one dangling thread. We know there's the Shadow Council we saw last week, but there's also the dangling thread of the New Republic has this spy in Elia Kane out there, and that is trouble. Somebody's got to take care of her. And one thing that I find strange is I see online everybody talking about what's up with Dr. Pershing? What's up with Dr. Pershing? His story was done. He got his mind flayed. Right.
He's not coming back.
Right. That was his story of he, tried to go good, but the Empire doesn't want anybody saying what they were doing. And so flay his mind. Elia Kane took care of him. So there's no such thing as what's up with Dr. Pershing's story. So my grief beef is the dangling thread of Elia Kane in that I want to see, not necessarily her, but I want to see more of the New Republic. I love Coruscant. As I always say, I'm a city kid. And so I want more of that, even though Grogu and Din's missions will probably be on the Outer Rim. So that's my grief beef.
Well, that wasn't the only dangling thing. Another thing we thought we might see this week, in addition to the Mythosaur, was the guy they kept talking about last week, who Moff was like, who dat? I never even seen him.
Yeah, exactly. Oh boy, Grand Admiral Thrawn, where he at?
So there are a lot of things left here, and yet, Din and Grogu, in between frog dinners, they're going to be doing it. All right, Bubba. So next is
let's get positive.
Good grief. What do you want to say about moving forward or from this episode that you were like, that was good grief? That's awesome.
This is hard to think about. But the very first season's final episode, which I actually liked more than this episode, but the first season's final episode really was kind of small stakes and small staging. You had our heroes trapped in a bar. The villains, there were probably 50 of them maybe. Outside, there was one X-Wing, that was it. And really, Din just had to defeat one X-Wing to kind of get away in the end. This was a giant battle. This is real tough. Yeah. I always mention Game of Thrones for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is that really did epic scope, movie style action and scale and scope. And one thing that The Mandalorian has done is across 3 seasons, and I'm going to include the Book of Boba Fett in it, it's gotten bigger. This could have been like a big screen battle. I mean, there was so much going on. There was so much CGI. Most of it all looked incredible. I think and I see a lot of people out there who did have problems with this story, I think you got to look at what we're getting as a weekly TV show and sometimes just, once again, drop your jaw to the floor and be like, holy smokes, look at this action I'm getting. This is incredible. So that's my good grief for the return. What about you, Catfish?
Just to jump on that, though, for a second, you don't need to compare everything to Game of Thrones.
Right.
Just think that as they're building and expanding out the universe, this is a lot like Fast and Furious, really, the Fast and Furious series. You can't drive a car to the moon on the first season, Bubba. No. You got to save that until later. So Fast and Furious, my good grief is, and they've teased it for next year, let's have it more. Lots of Grogu. I want more Grogu. And the whole season, I felt like a complaint that Grogu didn't do much of using the Force. And then he finally brought a lot out of it this year. So my good grief is kind of pouring into, I don't want this to be a bad bad grief. Right. Grief beef next year is that Grogu goes back to not using the Force. So this is going to be difficult because we're going to have higher stakes for him to pull out the Force, but we can't have him just saving it until,
Episode 8, right.
Yeah, I mean, the big stuff. We had real small stuff. So my good grief just was lots of Grogu. He's using the Force. Let's keep that up.
I'm with you. Heck yeah. All right, Catfish.
Talk to me.
They may have turned the bar on Navarro into a school, but we'll always have our bounty hunter guild battles to find out who wins that bounty hunting puck.
And then back into a bar and then back into a school.
We love you, Vane. So this is something that is really in a small corner of the Mando world that people are debating. And so it's our debate this week. Grogu got an adopted dad today. In this episode. One he's had probably since the very first episode, but he's still got an adoptive dad now.
Right.
Should he also get an adoptive mother? Should Bo-Katan just marry Din Djarin and get this will they, won't they over with? Does Grogu need a mother in his life in addition to a daddy in his life? Should you ship Bo-Katan and that guy who won't take off his helmet around her because he's like, I can't take off my helmet. My hair looks like crap. I haven't shaved. Din Djarin, Catfish. Any love, any reason to expand the cabin there at the Lava Flats?
Absolutely not.
What?
Absolutely not.
What?
No.
Her song hasn't been written yet. No, okay, sorry. Go. Yeah, let's hear.
Our song hasn't been written, but maybe we should just wait for Ragnar to come of age. First of all, Din's got his own stuff going on. He can't be involved all the time. He's never going to take his helmet off. That means his breath is going to stink, and he can never take it off anyway. So I mean, can you imagine, just for those of you who are adults, imagine a dude completely naked except for his Mandalorian helmet. Ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So
I'm quite sure there's some 4chan channels which
she's busy recreating Mandalore. Okay. He's got to train up his apprentice. That's his job now. Even though he's been taking him on adventures for the first 2 years, he officially has to take him on adventures until he can find a robot that he can cram Grogu into that can recite the creed.
If you are R5, you're like, oh my God, are they going to gut me and stick this alien in my belly next?
and then he has to. Can you do the creed in binary? I mean, you should be able to. You should be able to, even though Mando claims he doesn't know it.
Right.
He knows that. He doesn't want to hear any more complaining from
Hold on. Now let's get back to the Bounty Hunter Guild battle.
Tell me.
Just do it.
No.
Children, always love a mother figure. When you're on TV after you've just had your big first Jedi Force push and the TV camera puts on you, you go, hi, Mom. Bo-Katan and Din Djarin should get married. The way she looked when Din said, your song hasn't been written yet, and I will support you until it has. She should have immediately said, let's kiss. She should have said, you had me at Cyril. This is Cyril and Dedra type love.
It is not. They have listen.
Yeah. They spent more time together than Cyril and Dedra have.
They have, but they have absolutely no zero chemistry. Cyril and Dedra have this,
if you saw the faces, man, if you saw the romantic faces that Mando was making behind his helmet.
Now, listen.
Yeah.
First of all.
Okay.
Bo's got work to do. She can't be saddled with some wandering bum, some guy who doesn't have a job. He's an independent contractor, like you said. He's got no health insurance. It's horrible. She's going to be the leader of the people with her dark stub.
Listeners, what do you think? We are going crazy at Double PHQ on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.com/Double PHQ. If you're on YouTube, go down there. They love each other. Din and Bo-Katan. She could be, I now name you, Din Bo-Katan Kryze. Is their ship name Doe or Bin? Don't put it in the bin. Give love to Bo. That's what I say. Or Doe.
How about Katanjan?
It works. It works. You know who else works? Awkward transition.
Nice.
Somebody I like to call Double M.
Quintuple M.
Oh, Quintuple M.
Yeah. Well, you're right. It's double M with the quintuple M.
Yep. And
it's Matt Murdock with Matt Murdock's Mandalorian musical. Manalysis. Let's hear it now.
What a delightful episode, and my gosh, the last 10 minutes of music was absolutely incredible. We had a good, fun, emotional episode, and the music just did such a great job accompanying that. Gotta send out a huge respect to Joe Shirley. If you didn't think he had earned that job before, he certainly earned it in the end. There were 3 big highlights in the end for me, which is all I'm going to concentrate this time around. The first, of course, when Grogu's using the Force to hold the explosion off of Bo and Din. Oh my gosh, I was so emotional when Bo and Din both were bending over Grogu in order to be able to try and protect him from the fire in some way. And he ends up protecting them. And the music was beautiful. Sounded like this. Now, something that is very interesting about that piece of music is it actually has a lot of the similar shape of Grogu's theme that we've heard since season 2. I think it was originally called Snacks because it was kind of him trying to eat everything, spiders, frogs, eggs, whatever. But if you notice in what I just played there, there's this little underline that kind of accompanies it. And guess what that underline is? It is Grogu's theme. Here's how it would be in the context on its own. You've heard me mention it a lot lately about the Lydian sound and how a raised fourth makes everything even more wondrous than a major chord, which is just typically happy. If you think about it, the way that melody for this episode ends up, it emphasizes that note, which is usually the 7th scale step of the key. A lot of numbers, you don't need to know them. Let's move on. The next thing I wanted to point out was during the ceremony at the Living Waters, we heard almost the exact same arrangement as we did when Din took the pledge there. Now, we've already covered that, so go back to that episode. What was that, episode 2? And listen to that musical analysis if you want to refresh on that. Let's move on to just an amazing transformation of Bo's theme during the lighting of the forge. Normally, you would hear her theme or part of her theme sound like this. And I admit that Joe Shirley had to do a little bit of tweaking of that melody in order to make this work, but it was fabulous. First of all, he changed any notes like this. He raised them a half step to make them major, like this. And he also shifted the root, the part of the key that feels like home. He shifted it from here to here. And the end result is this wonderful major, almost kind of a sustained kind of melody, like there's a future ahead. It ended up sounding like this. And then the final thing that I want to talk about real quick was just the transition out of that scene to Mando going and asking for a job, right? As the ship is arriving, first of all, you have this wonderful, what we call suspension, which resolves to the major chord. That makes everything feel settled. And then this wonderful little reharmonization of the Mandalorian theme, where we get more major chords in it than we normally do. Normally, we're used to that being a plodding kind of minor sound, which makes it seem much more mission-oriented and much more dangerous to us. But here, the chords are all kind of mellowed out in a way that makes it feel hopeful in a way, because the 4 chord gets the major treatment instead of its normal minor treatment. From the resolution on, it sounds like this. And that's all I've got. Joe Shirley, you've got my respect. So do Bubba and Catfish, so back to them.
Do you think Matt was on, he didn't say it, but do you think he was on suicide watch when he saw a whole room of clones of Gideon? Like, was he like, come on, throw me a
I think
bone.
he might be now that they all got,
Right.
I think just like Cyril and Dedra, Matt and Moff have a love-hate relationship. So I'm more worried about Matt now that all the clones are gone.
Listeners, we care about your feedback. We're going to get to it right now. We record this right after the episode drops, so we don't have too much feedback for this week's episode, and we read a whole bunch of feedback about last week's episode, but we do have a couple of comments about episode 8, Catfish. What does our true, wonderful Double L loyal listener, Endless Mike 03 on Twitter, who we always, even if we disagree, I think Endless Mike is brilliant. How did he feel about episode 8?
He gave it 9 out of 10 double A's.
What, double A's?
Yeah, ass-kicking apprentices.
Oh my gosh! How many times is the apprentice better than the leader? I mean, yes, 9 out of 10. That is higher than either of you or I, Catfish, and I'm glad that he loved it. Who else loved it, Catfish?
Well, it was also Camille at Harley. Camille said, loved it. Grogu is the best Mando/Jedi. Surprising things. No spies. Nobody riding a mythosaur. Broken Dark Saber, a.k.a. Dark Stump.
Camille, I think you are absolutely right. If we had gone to Vegas and said, okay, last week's was titled The Spies, it just meant, bad guys. Or it meant, it just meant spies. Yeah, hey, the spies. Okay. This week, if you would have bet money that nobody rides the mythosaur and the Dark Saber, which got introduced in season 1, episode 10 to the Mandalorian universe and was so important last year and this year, and suddenly it's like, okay, it's the Dark Stub, you would have won a whole lot of money because nobody would have predicted that.
Holy cow. That is so true.
Ooh, somebody else who's always telling the truth. It's Holly, who's at Hunt Pants. That's HUNTPANTS, Hunt Pants on Twitter. Holly has always smarter things to say than we have. She said, I liked this episode, but it didn't really pay off as big as I thought they were setting it up to be. I'm still wondering who the other spy was. Catfish, that has been a big talk today. Last week's episode was called The Spies, but really you could say Elia Kane was a spy. There really kind of wasn't anybody else in the episode that made you think, oh, this person's a spy. Any thoughts on this?
I mean, the season's over. It's got to be, I don't know. Someone just put it into maybe it was a Chat GPT generated title. Who knows?
Well, somebody, Dan Hickling on our Facebook page, facebook.com/WPHEQ. Dan Hickling wrote to us before this episode dropped, and he said, guys, the spy is R5, and R5 was a spy, so that technically means that Elia Kane was one, R5 was another in the episode. They were both in the episode. I don't think either were doing any spying in the episode, but Dan says the spy is R5, a true triple D.
Triple D?
Dastardly, double-crossing droid. Very
Holy
good,
cow. I agree. That is so good.
We did get one final bit of feedback on last week, episode 7. That was from our good buddy Levi Ventura, who's at sweet_tortilla on Twitter. What did Levi say, Catfish?
He said, gotta speak on the Mando speech he gave to Bo-Katan. Total dick riding, but not out of place. Bo-Katan was having her doubts about being able to bring everybody together, and Mando not only reassured her, but displays his loyalty to her and her mission, which I guess is sort of over. He's no longer following her. I'm sorry, this is done now. Me saying he's no longer following her. He's doing odd jobs.
His absence makes the heart grow fonder. They're going to come back. And how about this? How about a love triangle with Mando, Bo-Katan, and that girl in the village from season 1? Well, the woman in the village from season 1.
I meant to bring that up. You're totally ignoring her.
Mando, I mean, hold on. There's Ghost in somebody, and then there's Ghost in them for 2 seasons. I mean, that's not cool, Mando.
Hey, listen. Yeah. He's going to be like, well, things have changed. That's it. Things have changed. It's not asking too much.
It is going to be, I think, 4 or 5 months before You know what shows up? Oh, wait a minute. We do have one more bit of feedback. Came in right as I'm saying this words on episode 8. Laura McMillian, another true super fan of The Mandalorian, who's at Mazocat on Twitter. Laura said, I loved this episode. They tied up the season with a nice, pretty bow while leaving a few things for later. And I never doubted that the armorer was a good guy. Laura, you were right. I was wrong. I once again won't trust these titles too much of the spies, but yeah, great point. So our fans are pretty much almost a bit higher on the episode than we are, but that's fine. Your opinion matters, listeners. Ours doesn't. What I was trying to say is that in about 5 months, in August of 2023, we're going to be back with Ahsoka. Until that time, please always reach out to us on all these crazy social media platforms. You can reach up to me, Bubba, at FittenTrim on Twitter. That's FITTENTRIM at FittenTrim on Twitter.
And I am Catfish. You can hit me up at CJGman67 on Twitter until they make me so angry that I leave because they keep promoting people that are crazy nut jobs. But you can also hit me up on Instagram at G to the man. That is GEETOTHEMAN. And it won't matter that those are different after I leave Twitter, Bubba. So,
man, I'm going to take your blue check mark that doesn't exist.
But remember, you can always hit us up at DoublePHQ.
Yep.
On Twitter and Facebook.com/DoublePHQ.
Heck yeah.
And you can subscribe to our channel. And you can also leave reviews on any of your favorite podcast listening stations. I always say, if you're on iHeartRadio and you're listening to us, just yell out your review as you're listening to us.
Out the window of your car.
It will get to us eventually.
And now you'll hear us in September of 2023 on
Parsec Passion Podcast.
Do you want me to play that YouTube again so you can hear how Werner Herzog talks?
It's a combination of Werner and Uhtred.
Oh,